All right, today's the day. I got some help coming. We're gonna make some big strides on this thing. We're gonna get the motor set in, and we're gonna see what we have to make, cut, remove, add, whatever it may be, to make everything fit in place. Now, this was originally a 4-cylinder Jeep, so we know that there's gonna have to be some modifications made. That's the reason we do a mock-up process before we paint and make everything look nice, is because we may have to add brackets, we may have to cut brackets off, we may have to move stuff. We don't know. We got to see what hits and what don't, and what does make not hit and what don't. Well, we ain't gonna do nothing that's good.
I'd say it's a nut job.
But big leaps and bounds are being made today, and hopefully within the next month, this thing is driving down the road. I got my list made of things that needs to be done today. Yeah, that's the side of a washing machine box, and it's full. It's full. Yep. That's actually where most people screw up at. Over tightening.
Got any blaster?
Any what?
Blaster, PD blaster.
I might be up. I had some. I got usually like that. It'll be a trip to the store and I keep you anywhere. I got the bottom too. I can't get a wrench in the top too. Oh. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. That's the spot.
Oh, you don't have a timing pointer, huh?
No, all the wires and everything marked, so we mark it with just whatever one of these wires, wherever it's pointing, we mark it, put it back on the same one. When you get close enough to run. Shit, please.
What motor is that?
That's the one that was in my truck and I pulled it out.
Why for?
Well, I was gonna sell it to some people.
Because ADD.
I was gonna sell it to some people, and they all run good, but
You haven't even got it on the road yet, have you?
and all those motors I put in run good. It's just I can't satisfy. I think I haven't come up with a clear idea of what I actually want to do with them, so, which makes it that much more difficult. Looks great. Put a little dead on. A little dead on now.
Well, half of them are marked. That'll be easy.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, we're gonna need probably about another 3 inches to go back, so take it down, and then, once it's out of the way of this, we'll.
the arc of this,
manipulate
it's gonna
that.
start going back as it goes down anyway.
Yeah.
This thing here has a crazy arc on it.
Pull the hoist out just a hair. Maybe an inch and a half, 60. I can tilt the, there we go.
A fancy engine filter here.
Now what? Loop over to the other side and winch it up.
Crank on a little bit and pick the motor up a little bit.
Okay. that skid guard.
This one right here is not off the jack stand yet because it's going up an angle.
Let me get some weight over here. Well, it's not as bad as I thought. Oh, look at that. My dowel is perfect. You got some bell housing bolts?
Mine's gotta go down a hair. I mean, not much, half inch maybe.
Well, mine, I've got mine in by hand, so
Just
don't get greedy with it. I've got one bolted in here, and we might rip it out. Get to where you can see your dowel lined up. That's you. Feels like it.
Yep, I see it right there.
All right. You want to put in a bell housing bolt right above that dowel?
Yeah, we can do it right.
So those frame mounts are going to have to move forward, or we're going to have to build something to offset these engine clamshells back about 3 inches, it looks like. Is your angle not right?
Something's off, it's gonna start.
You want me to winch the front of the motor up?
No,
Get more
it's
tilt?
still what I'm doing.
And there's a bolt and a washer on your trash can lid. I don't know if you need that.
I'll find a spot for it for sure.
You want to get one bolt in the top just so we're not.
Every other bolt I have is a 3/8 is a long ass bolt.
Okay, I'll take mine out and I'll just move it up then.
I was sitting here looking to see if I had any more. That's what I'm gonna have to go to town. I'm gonna have to go to town and restock my bolt man.
So,
I mean, you could almost drill new holes in the frame right there.
no, you've got brake lines that are bent to compensate for that. See there? They need to move over to full length plus
Full width of that
these.
thing.
So check these out. Probably got more access on this side.
Are they mirrored? I wanna see first off.
Well, you got plenty of room.
Oh yeah, it'll go right.
So I don't think the engine's gonna get a lot of hammered on torque. You're still gonna use rubber insulators, right? Or you want a solid mount?
I was gonna drill a hole right through there and run maybe at best weld a slug in there, but and maybe-
Well, we're gonna have to put plates on those.
Now I have a
And
set.
these are wider than what this is.
I have a set of factory frame mounts for a truck that have a rubber insulator and all of them, still brand new in the box. And then they're not gonna reach all the way over to the frame.
See this?
Yeah, they are definitely wider. That's, I may have to try to see if I can about putting those factory mounts on there.
I would make a plate that bolt. Do you have another set of Chevy engine clamshells? So we can cut them and use them as a template or as our plate. Okay,
Yeah,
that's,
I own a piece of cardboard to do it. Professional fab shop. Hey, that's a CAD design, cardboard aided design.
cardboard and difficulty.
We might, well, so maybe I'll use the side piece off of that, that little channel on it, may come down enough to where it captures these sides.
Well, we're putting this up in it though, so we don't need that. Well,
No,
we
no,
have
no.
to keep that.
No, I mean, instead of a flat piece for your cardboard, we can, that piece of channel will come down so it'll keep the space.
It does.
It does, it actually sits in the groove right here.
Yeah, that's what I said earlier.
Chevrolet Max does something smarter than what
No. Don't give them that much better.
The accidental design.
Yeah, exactly. Tape measure.
So what we got going on here is we're having to make brackets for the motor mount. We got the clamshells on, but as you can see, the motor doesn't sit exactly right, which the motor don't sit center in this Jeep anyway. So that's what we're working on now. That's why we do the mock-up process, is to figure out where our motor mounts need to be and build new mounts. The factory mounts on this thing sit way back here, and we've got to be way up here for the location of this engine. Now to use what you got, we've got a piece of, got a metal pallet out there. It's good, thick, heavy steel. We're gonna cut it and make new motor mounts with it. You know, some of the fabrication work you have to do. What people don't realize and what they miss is there will be hours in just motor mounts. So even though there'll be a full day of work, the full day of work is gonna pretty much encompass getting the engine set where it needs to be. There's a lot of work that people don't see that goes into doing stuff that wasn't necessarily done that way to start with. Yes, some of these Jeeps came with V8s, but they came with 304s and not small block Chevys, so we would still have to fabricate mounts. Do they sell kits? Yes, they sell kits to do this, but at the same time, does anybody actually have one in stock right now? And shipping, the cost of it. You're getting a true custom fit this way, because honestly, let's face it, today's quality, most of the kits you buy, we'd have to cut them apart and make them work anyway. So we're just cutting out the middleman this way and making everything fit. And then of course, we're gonna do fender well headers. We're gonna have to we're gonna fab and build our own header kit. It comes around, does fender well, exit outside the frame and goes back for those iconic Jeep side pipes that everybody runs. Build a spacer so that we can get our spacing correct, left to right. If you look, the transmission tunnel in these Jeeps are not in the center. They're actually offset to the driver's side. So we have to do the center. We have to do the same, which nicely enough also gives us plenty of clearance along our front drive shaft, which was something I was actually concerned about. Doing it this way, if there's ever an issue in the future, it's using factory Chevy clamshells and everything, so you can go to a local parts store and pick up parts for it. So that's another advantage. No aftermarket parts company that may be out of business in a few years that you have to track down parts for if something happens. Rubber mounted, just like it would have been from the factory, the entire shebang. So what he's out there doing is we took our cardboard and we make templates for the bottom of these mounts to know exactly where our holes are, how big our square should be, and then we're going to build mounts, gusseted back, and then we're going to weld nuts on the back of it so that you don't have to try to fish in there with a wrench. If you ever have to take it out or anything, they're just threaded in from the top. We're going to simplify the entire process and make something that's extremely serviceable, easy to come by parts, and everything bolts together and holds like it's supposed to. So here's how we're doing that. We'll make a cardboard template that fits, and then we're going to make some cardboard template angles and cut all of our pieces and weld everything to the frame. And then these are just factory Chevy mounts that will be bolted to these brackets. Again, it makes it fully serviceable in the future and makes it so now it's set up so you can put any, to my knowledge, any small block Chevy motor you want to can sit in here. Pretty sure the LSs probably share the same. Let me rephrase. They make an adapter plate for an LS that will bolt to a factory small block Chevy mounting plate. So now you can even put an LS in it in the future if you wanted to. So it's completely set up now to be serviceable in any manner in which you choose to service it in the future. Just so you understand that if you was taking this to your local fab shop, if you don't have the skills to do this, you're taking it to your local fab shop somewhere, they're probably going to charge you about $100 an hour to do this kind of work. We'll have a lot of time in it. We'll know at the end of it.
some nice slips.
Yeah, that's supposed to be a rubber line, plastic, but yeah. Uh-huh.
What you got?
Checking that alignment of that out. It's only got one hole in it, so it'll be pretty easy to line that. How, too high.
Okay, this notch needs to go way up.
Yeah. The hole is above the plate right here, so.
So both of these need to drop down.
Does both notches need to go down or just this back one?
This one needs to go up so that it sits lower.
Right, but
And
just that
over.
one is. This is why not a lot of guys do this. We probably have 4 hours so far in all this. Anything at $100 an hour. A cheap shop is $100 an hour for fab work. So, yeah, world's most expensive motor mounts. But hey, built not bought. Built not bought. What you get was skilled or whatever. Look at the perfect fit. I guess we just like both right there.
Give me a big pry bar.
But yeah, you know, I mean, it's
I might be able to get it like this. Here we go.
it's still only a 302 at the end of the day.
Anyway, you couldn't run more than 5 liters engine displacement, and it had to be a production motor for you to compete with. You had to offer it in a production line. So that's why they put it out. They were high winders. They really did good with RPMs because they were a short stroke. And I think they did it with all production parts. It was like such and such crank, such and such rods, and these pistons, right? Oh, I don't know.
You lift it in so they swing in the air like that. All right, so it's late. It's been a full day, but where we're at, we've got frame mounts made. Now let me explain how this is going to work. The engine is back out because these have to be welded in. These will get welded into place on the frame. Oops, trying to hold it and hold the camera. These get welded into place on the frame. Basically, they take the place of what was on it with the 4-cylinder motor in it. Once those are welded to the frame, then the local part stores carry GM clamshell mounts and stuff. So we got a set of the frame mount side. We got a set of these for like a 80s square body Chevy truck, and a set of motor mounts for the same. Now, those frame mounts bolt to these brackets that we made. The brackets weld to the frame. What that does is make this thing completely serviceable. So now if 5-10 years down the road, you get a motor mount that's wore out or whatever, you can go to any auto parts store, supposedly, any auto parts store, you can buy a new small block Chevy mount, 3 bolts, and just take these out, unbolt them, slide them out, slide the new ones in. It makes it serviceable instead of just making it locked in place. And in the aftermarket kits you buy, if something happens, well then what part do you buy to make it work? You know what I'm saying? And what we're doing with these is we're taking let me get one right here real quick. We're gonna take the nut and weld to the back side of it. So it's a captured nut, it's welded in there. That way when you're working on it and you reach over here, all you gotta do is reach from the top side, bolts tighten in there. There's nothing to try to finagle or inch around in there. A lot of these, even when they're bolted in, are a pain to get out because it just has a nut and a bolt on it and you have to fish around in there to get a wrench on it. Complete nightmare. We're trying to plan ahead for all that. We're trying to make it set up so that you can drop any small block Chevy you want to in it. Even with a set of adapter plates, you could drop an LS in it if you wanted to. So any small block Chevy would drop right in this in the future if you want to do a change for any reason. Whatever, something happens, whatever the case is, all the hard work is already done. So now it's just plop, plop. So we're trying to make it infinitely serviceable. Fabbing brackets like this is very time consuming. I mean, where it sits on the frame, down beside the frame, clearance for the lines to run through, holes being put where they need to. It's very time consuming to make something like this. But it's very rewarding when you do because, again, where a lot of people will set a motor in place, weld something down, and she's good. That does not make it serviceable. And anytime I do a project like this, in the back of my head, I'm thinking, what if I'm on vacation somewhere 200 miles from home and something goes wrong? I need to be able to service it very easily, which is why we're doing the captured nuts and all, so you can bolt it from the top, you don't have to crawl around under it. I need to service it very easily, but I also need to be able to find parts for it, which is why I went to local parts stores and found the most common frame, the pad that goes on a frame for a Chevrolet, the frame mount side, that they had in stock. And it's this one, I think, is for technically for an old square body Chevy, but apparently the Chevy trucks ran this same mount for many generations of trucks. So you can walk into any parts store and find that. The motor mounts, same issue. The motor mounts are relatively common, so it allows this thing to be serviced on the side of the road. Now, I'm not saying if you have a broken frame or a broken motor mount, you're gonna fix that on the side of the road, but if you decide to take off one weekend to go to Windrock or somewhere and go off-roading, and on a trail, you damage a motor mount, so every time you're mashing gas, the motor's trying to rock or something, any auto parts store, 4 bolts and an off-road jack of some kind or a floor jack or anything to jack the motor up so you can get about that much clearance, 3 bolts out of the pad, the 1 motor mount bolt, you can literally slide it right out. It's at an angle, there's nothing under it, you can slide it right out, slide another one right in, bolt right back through it, 3 bolts in the pad, bolt it down, and you're done. It really was made the simplest way we could make it, but simple does not equate to quick, which is where custom builds start racking up a lot of expense because, again, got about 4 hours in these mounts, and pretty much a cheap shop right now is $100 an hour. So granted, that is not, if you're buying something, that is not the cheapest way to buy it, but it is set up so that now you can run, I think these pads were $30, somewhere around there. These motor mounts are about the same. So now it's set up so you can run generic common parts, but there was some expense up front to do that. Some things you got to keep in mind if you're trying to tackle a job like this. Again, where could you buy fitment like that. You won't. Not with an aftermarket kit, because aftermarket kits can't account for everything. This thing is not only cut to fit the frame perfectly, it's notched so that the brake lines can run through there, so that if you ever have to change a brake line, it's serviceable. You can slide it straight through there, slide a new brake line straight through there. Infinitely serviceable. That is always the goal. You want to be able to service any part, because I don't care what it is, eventually parts wear out. And in the modern world, they're halfway there when you start. Here you are. The engine is sitting back in it, and I've got the frame mounts that we fabbed up, bolted to the Chevy frame mount part, the rubber parts, the actual frame mounts, engine mounts. I've got them mounted to those, and getting ready to tack them into place with some heavy tacks, because there's a few things I want to make sure is correct before I make this just burn it in hard. So let's look at this. So as you can see right there, that one right there is sitting spot in. This one over here, I'm gonna make a little gusset that goes right here. Keep in mind the engine's just kind of dangling from the engine hoist, so I gotta maneuver it a little bit, measure off center, make sure everything's right. The one on the passenger side, I have to make a little gusset for. The frame has a different kick up in it on that side than it does the driver's side. All part of the fab process. But once it's in there, those will be welded to the frame. Like if you look right here, this will be welded to the frame across the top up there, down the sides, both sides, inside up here. It's gonna be welded solid, burn in, and that will leave those in place of the 4-cylinder ones that we knocked off. These are the 4-cylinder ones that came off. They will not work with this V8 for 2 reasons. One, they're in the wrong place, and 2, they had the wrong angle on them. So then once these are burned in, I'm gonna cut a piece of plate right here over the top and weld it in here, so this is smooth, this is nice. Visually, it looks well. So this will be plated from the top. All this will be body worked with the frame and painted, so it'll look nice, it'll look factory. And again, completely serviceable, because these will be bolted to that. You know, you got your one motor mount bolt. It's completely serviceable. Since virtually all small block Chevys are the same, when we pull this motor out, we know we won't have any problem sticking a motor in it. It'll sit right in there. There's a few little things that we've got to dig around and get worked out. I've got to find the correct flywheel to make the combination I have here work. I'm going to have to do some research and digging around to find the correct flywheel. And once I find that, then we'll be ready to fire the motor in it. But don't get ahead of yourself, because we've got a lot of stuff to do before we get to that point. Right now, it's about getting these frame mounts put in and burned in. That way, when I pull it back out, I know everything on the frame rails in the front is done. Won't be any problem. Everything will work. So then we can sand the frame rails down and put paint on the frame rails and have the frame rails finished out looking nice, so this engine bay will look top. So from this point on out, any fab work that I have to do will be on things like brackets and stuff like that to make accessories work. Now, I'm pretty sure that I can find a power steering pump bracket from pretty much any Chevy car, or, you know, something along the 60s, 70s, 80s time frame. Anything before a serpentine belt, I'm pretty sure I can find brackets off of them and adapt them to make them work on this. This 4-cylinder bracket won't work just because of the length of it. It would put the power steering pump way on the outside of the frame rails, and we don't want that. We want to move them in. If all else fails and I cannot find the brackets that I need, I've got more flat stock. So we'll fab something up for that too. But we're going to try to find some that, again, are off-the-shelf parts. That way this thing is serviceable. It'll be just roll into a parts store and buy any parts you want, because everything will be serviceable. That's why I kind of like doing things this way and not necessarily buying a kit to do things. Because if you buy a kit, a lot of times if that company goes out of business, then you're stuck trying to figure out what parts you can make work. But if we do it this way, then that means that we're always going to have common parts that you can go find. So we're very fortunate with being able to make these things work like they should. All right, guys, so this video is getting long. You know, I try to keep them about 30 minutes because I film on my phone, and it gets hard to upload anything past that. This is just a process that it takes just to get an engine sitting in one when you're fabbing stuff and you're doing a complete swap and you're doing something that wasn't actually meant to be done or wasn't done from the factory. It takes a lot of time. There's probably 6 to 8 hours, maybe close to 10 hours in getting all this done. The brackets fab, the engine set in. By the time I burn these brackets in, they'll probably be close to 10 hours in this thing right there. And well, like anywhere, time is money, and shop rate around here is about $100 an hour. So keep that in mind if you start doing something like this. It's an investment, but when you want to have fun, you spend the money to have fun. And this is one of those projects that it's kind of taking a life of its own. So hopefully you guys will jump in here, like, subscribe, share, and do all those things to help the channel grow and help this video actually make a little money. For some reason, the Jeep videos doesn't seem to do very well on here, but we could really use the income from them. You know what I mean? Kind of got to dump some more change into this thing. We've got a ton of money invested in it already, and we're probably not even at the halfway point when it comes to spending yet. So yeah, we need money. Watch the videos. Hey guys, all joking aside, I'm gonna get that burned in, so the next time you see this thing, the next video you see on this thing, we will be doing some sanding, we will be doing some painting, we will be getting some suspension dialed in, and trying to get this thing ready for this motor to go back in permanently. So y'all stay tuned. God bless y'all. To Him be all the glory. I hope you guys have a blessed and wonderful day. And it's hot. I'm going to the house. It's probably already 100 degrees in here. Let's see. It is. Where's that? Can we see it? Oh yeah, it's there it is. It's just creeped over 100 degrees in here. Yeah. I'm fat. I'm sweating. I'm going in the house.
I'd say it's a nut job.